Welcome to another In My Mug special. I hope you enjoyed last week's. For the launch of Coffeeography, I invited Alejandro Martinez from Finca, Argentina across for the launch. At the launch, I interviewed him, and it makes up this week's episode, which was filmed on location at Cup North at Manchester's Coffee Festival.
My name is Steve Layton, and I travel the world finding amazing and delicious coffee for you to drink at home. Some make coffee difficult to understand and complicated, but here it's my job to make it easy and fun and tell you what's in my mug.
So hi everyone, I'm Alejandro from Finca, Argentina. I got into coffee farming and farming in general in 2008. Before that, I've actually worked in the financial services industry. I grew up in Ecuador, Costa Rica as well, got a business school degree in the United States. I worked in New York in finance for a while. And in 2007, relocated to El Salvador. And basically that's how I got started. And my dad had a farm, Finca, Argentina. He wasn't sure what to do with it. So I went up there one time and fell in love with the farm, fell in love with coffee, and I've been doing that ever since. So that's how I got started, basically.
So you are El Salvadorian, but you lived in Costa Rica and...
Yeah, so El Salvador, we had a civil war back in the 80s that lasted like 10 years. So my dad left the country and we wandered around for a little bit. So he's always been in agriculture. He's done macadamia farming, rice farming, soybeans, ginger, I guess, as well, like a bunch of stuff. So, but he never really got involved in coffee, funny enough.
So the farm was originally your grandfather's?
Yes, so my grandfather purchased a farm back in 1972, I think, with his brother. So they purchased a farm and other farms, then they split up the farms, and then my grandfather ended up with Finca, Argentina, and then he passed that on to my father, and I guess my father owns it now. I work for my dad, actually, so it's not my farm. So.
But your dad doesn't have anything to do with the day-to-day. You're making all of the decisions on the farm, that's right?
I make the decisions, and then my dad overrides my decisions. so I make the decisions, I do the day-to-day, and he does the oversight, and he complains. It's like, not enough coffee, what are you doing? That's his role.
And that's an interesting tangent to go off. So when you took over the farm was producing around about 700 bags, is that right?
I don't like where you're going with this, Steve. No, I have not brought the yields down. It's not my fault, it's God's will.
So the farm started about 700 bags?
Yeah, we started, we actually think about it in quintales, which is 100 pounds. But yeah, it's roughly 700, 750 bags. Actually, it started with lower than that.
Yeah.
When I picked it up, it was around 500 bags, 550. Brought it up to 750, and then leaf frost hit. So
a bag, for those who don't know, is like 69 kilos.
Right.
And
150 pounds.
150 pounds, which is, it's green coffee. So after roasting, there's less than that because there's shrinkage and things. So you took over the farm and you raised the yields, and then you were doing, you were trying to improve quality, and we'll get onto the organic side a little bit later, but you saw a big drop because of leaf rust. What is leaf rust for people who don't know what that is?
Okay, so leaf rust is a fungus that gets on the leaf of the coffee, and the way that the coffee tree fights it is that it drops the leaf, right? So the fungus, the spores, cannot live in a leaf that's not alive. So the tree just drops it. So what ends up happening is that the tree loses all the leaves, and then there's no yield, and then it just keeps getting attacked, and then eventually the tree just gives up and dies. So.
And then with wind, it can spread to other plants and neighboring farms, and on and on.
It spreads super easy. So wind or people, like when the outbreak happened, like you will walk around the farm with a white T-shirt, and it will be orange by the end of the day. It's just crazy how easy it spreads, and yeah.
So how much did that drop the yield of what you were producing from those 750, 69 kilo bags? Where did that end up?
So that year we produced, in 2012, the year was 750 or something like that, and we went down to 75 bags, right? We lost 90% of the farm production. So.
And that was seen in a lot of farms around El Salvador, wasn't it? It wasn't just you. There were lots of people experiencing.
It was a
hits.
range. Like the people that got really hit, like me, we lost 90% of our yield. Some other people were better prepared, I guess, and they lost maybe 70%, 65%. But yeah, it was a general problem in all of Central America, not only El Salvador.
So it's kind of like if you were at the bank and they suddenly said, we're only going to pay you 10% of your wages this year. Is that okay?
Yeah, no.
It wouldn't be okay, would it? So how did you get through that? I mean, how did you get to the other side of, budgeting to make sure the farm doesn't fold? Because, I mean, I've seen it in El Salvador where lots of farms just get abandoned because people can't afford to manage them anymore. And how did you get through that?
Interesting. Okay, so that's a good question. So for us, it's a crossroads. When we reach that point, it's like, what do we do, right? And should we just give up? Because there's a lot of investment that you need to do to get the yields up again. The main problem that we had in El Salvador was an old plantation. So all the trees were like 70 years old, 80 years old, and
mainly Bourbon as well, which is a varietal.
Very susceptible.
Yeah.
So what happens is we needed to change all the trees, put new ones in, and that's the process we've undergone. But the decision at the time was, wait a minute, we have the end market, so we have visibility into the price. We have people like you that want the coffee, so the demand is there. So that allowed us to actually plan and forecast 10 years out and actually think like, yeah, we should do the investment because these are the cash flows that we should be expecting because Steve will buy the coffee, right? We have the buyers out there for it. If we would have not been selling specialty coffee, the decision would have probably been to just sell the farm or abandon it. Yeah.
So,
how cool is Ali? Like, actually, he's probably not cool by this point because after that point, we spent 4 days traveling around Ireland together, and I've probably killed him. He's buried somewhere in Ireland, but he is an absolute legend. It was great to spend that time with him, I'm sure. Right, Cantans. Using the Cantans. I haven't used these for a long, long time. You will see on the screen a guide to Cantans. Now, why am I using Cantans? Well, they're perfect for traveling with. They're the absolutely perfect traveling companion. Unlike Alejandro, who is the worst traveling companion. These are great because they're light, they don't break, you don't get any strange looks, like taking an AeroPress through customs. You get some very strange looks. What is this for, sir? So they are perfect for traveling with, and they're light. And they can brew you a cup at a time, which when you're traveling, that tends to be all that you want. So while you are there, we're going to speed up the camera because this brew is going to take me around about 3 minutes, and then we'll be back with some delicious coffee at the end of it. Whoa. And we are back after that long prelude. Took around about just over 3 minutes to brew. And yeah, let's dive straight in. Now, the one thing about El Salvador washed Bourbons is that I don't like the descriptor because I feel I use it too much, but it's milk chocolate. And they are predominantly milk chocolate. This one has a nice caramel, kind of caramelized brown sugar sweetness to it. And I want you to again think orange, and I want you to think apple. And in specific green apple. It's very clean, it's very transparent, it's very delicious, and definitely one of my favorite coffees. I'm a huge fan of the work that they do at Finca, Argentina. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching, Ali. Thank you for joining me as always. And do remember, life is definitely too short for bad coffee. Whenever I see tartan, I just think of Rod Stewart, though. So. Do you think I'm sexy?